Having a child is selfish. Starting a family, selfish. Why? Why did you have a baby? You wanted to be a parent? You wanted to start a family? You wanted to carry on the family legacy? What was your reason? Whatever it was, I'm almost willing to bet that it was absolutely freaking selfish. There are a myriad of reasons why people have children, but I have yet to hear anyone say that they simply had children because they felt that they were in a position to be able to facilitate the growth of that person into the person that they were meant to be, which really, that's our only job as a parent, to facilitate the growth of a person for who they're meant to be. So many times as parents, we have all these expectations of these children because we think that they're extensions of us. We think that they're vicariously us. All the dreams we didn't get to live out, they get to. We want them to carry on the family name, whatever it may be. There are so many people on this planet that do not want to be here. They're brought into this world because somebody wanted to start a family. Somebody wanted the aesthetic, but then the aesthetic might not have worked. Maybe they got a divorce. Or maybe somebody just wanted somebody to unconditionally love them, but that's not how a parent-children relationship works. When you plant flowers in your yard, right? You nurture the tulip to become a tulip. Whatever instructions come for a tulip to become a tulip, that's what you follow. There are no instructions when it comes to having kids. So you get a mixed bag of seeds. You don't know what's going to blossom. So if this flower starts to bloom and it's looking very much like a sunflower, but you thought it was going to be a tulip and you really wanted tulips. Tulips makes you happy. But are you going to stand there and yell at the sunflower every day and tell it to be more like a tulip? No! You're going to let it be a sunflower. Our babies deserve so much better than what we give them. Hell, half of us don't even have kids because it was planned. A lot of us just, oops, here's a baby. And then we think we're doing some righteous act because we raise it into adulthood. So what?
Having kids later in life is so selfish. Is a thing I saw someone say recently. They explained, you're gonna be too old to be there when they need you most. But it's also selfish to have them when you're young because you're still dumb, so you're gonna be a fucking idiot when they need you most. Speaking from experience. So what do? Split the difference? Now you're half an idiot, half decrepit trying to raise kids. As it turns out, it's always selfish to have kids. It's impossible to have children unselfishly. Is this selfishness okay? I guess what we'll have to do is ask kids and former kids. I don't think we're gonna get consensus. Here's one takeaway though. Stop acting like you're doing your kids a favor. Man, I suck at that. I'm just being a hypocrite saying this at all, but I believe it strongly. Your kids don't owe you anything. Even if my kids are happy to exist, it's still on me that they're here. I had the first sentence of this TikTok written down. I did not know it was gonna take this direction. So I guess if you like half-baked thoughts on parenting from someone who makes no claims to be doing a good job at it, come along. I got more.
I think what trips a lot of people up is that the choice to have a child, even if you do it from the most healthy space, is inherently self-centered. Even if what I was just talking about in this video, where you are having a child because, you feel that that's natural and that's the next step in your life, and you feel very fulfilled in your life, you and your partner feel so fulfilled, and you're just we want to share that love with someone else. That's the most healthy way to have a child. However, it's still innately self-centered because it's still about you. I want to experience more love, therefore I'm going to have a child, right? So it's innately about you. But I think then what trips people up is that the act of being a mother or being a father is innately selfless. And that's where people it gets really difficult, because the act to have a child is innately self-centered, even if it's coming from a healthy space. But then the act of actually being a mother or being a father is innately selfless. You have to be selfless. And so it's the act that brings you in is self-centered, but the way that you have to act for the rest of the time is selfless. And so I think that the most helpful way to be healthy in that transition is to be very fulfilled in your life, very secure, very happy as an individual. And then from that space, you're able to be selfless in a very healthy way, versus when we are not fulfilled in our lives, we are selfless in a very enmeshed way, or a codependent way, or an abusive way, or one that drains us and makes us miserable. And so the key is to understand that we want to be selfless in a healthy way.
Why is it that whenever a woman says she does not want kids, people call her selfish? You that have kids, give me one non-selfish reason why you have kids. People say they have kids so that they will have somebody to take care of them when they are older. Selfish reason. So that they can experience unconditional love. Very selfish and rubbish reason. Go and see a therapy. Jesus said, go into the world and multiply. He's talking about spreading the gospel and multiplying as Christians, not spreading your legs. Someone to carry on their name and legacy. You've not even achieved anything in life. You've not made your mark on earth, yet you want somebody to carry on your name. What name? What legacy? Legacy of poverty. Go and sit down. And don't get me wrong, being selfish is not entirely bad. But my thing is, you sit down here and call that woman selfish for not wanting kids, when all the while you've been the selfish one. Like, make it make sense. And the fact that some people have kids just because, and they don't have the tools and emotional maturity to take care of that child, and they end up traumatizing the child. Remember, just because you have a womb doesn't mean you should use it.
I have observed that society will give us this script, and we unconsciously, unaware, follow it to be accepted by society. Go to school, buy a house, find someone romantically, get married, have kids, and live happily ever after. So me being a rebel, I decided to rip up that script. And everybody looking at me like I'm crazy because I don't want to live my life in that way. And it's a want. We all have these desires. Like, some people want kids, and like myself, I don't want kids. But we never ask the people who want kids, why? Why do you want kids? And most people have a narcissistic, egotistical response of why they want kids. And it's okay to have wants, but we have to understand it's not a need.
What are the actual benefits of having children? Like, I
am glad that so many of us are doing interrogation and exploring and making the intentional decision to whether have children or to not have children. I think that is great. And I also think at the other side of it, that the decision to have a child or not to have a child, it's a solely selfish decision, because we don't get to ask children, do you want to be born, before they are born. So deciding to have children, the reasons, the benefits, it's all going to be based on the person trying to make that decision. So people could say, I want to have children because my legacy, because I want somebody to love, because I want a meaning in life. All of these things, it's going to be about the person deciding to have children. And that's a selfish reason. And also for those of us, or for people who may be on the fence, or who may be questioning, or who may say, I don't want to have children, that's also going to be selfish. It's also going to be based on that person, right? That maybe I don't want to have children because I don't have the finances. I don't want to ruin somebody's life. It's all going to be I. So I think that's something that we have to acknowledge in this conversation, that even though it's a selfish reason, I don't think it makes people who choose to have children bad parents or somehow selfish. Even though it's a selfish decision, it doesn't make them these kind of selfish people, but that's how that decision is. It's about the person choosing, or the person deciding to have children.
I'm going to be honest. I wanted to be selfish. I wanted to do whatever I wanted all of the time.
A lot of parents who have kids are having kids selfishly. This content creator talks about why she decided to be child free, and she talked about how she's analyzed herself, how she wants to be selfish, how she wants to live her life, and I applaud her for that honesty. Most people do not apply themselves with that much critical thinking when they bring a child into this world. I know, having my daughter at 20 years old, I did not consider her as an individual at all when I brought her into my life. I did not think of my financial situation, my emotional capacity, the future, any of these things. I just whimsically, by instinct, just had a child. And even though I was married, I was in a toxic marriage. And again, I brought my child into a toxic parent household where now she is the product of divorced parents. I truly believed if we applied this much critical thinking in terms of procreating and bringing children into this world, we would have less kids with mental issues, depression, anxiety. We would definitely have less narcissists. We would have less kids with health issues in terms of choosing partners and seeing their medical history and their genetic makeup of anything that is hereditary. The reality is, we don't actually consider the child when we bring them into this world. We just consider ourselves and our lives and our fairy tale of whatever illusion we think when we bring this child into this world. Some people are in toxic situations and they think that if they bring a child into this world, it'll give them the courage to get out of it. Some people bring kids into this world because they want to trap a man into staying with them. Some men get women pregnant because he wants to have autonomy over her body and he thinks that she will always be a part of him. Some people are clinically depressed with so many mental issues and are bringing kids into a world of trauma. Because now I've grown and I've evolved, I have not had another child since. I love my daughter, and it's because I love her so much and I can reflect, I can be honest. A lot of us as parents owe our kids an apology because we did not consider them as human beings when we brought them in. I was poor, even married. My daughter had to grow up with me being homeless, going through poverty. Now I have a degree, I have a career, I'm a published author, I have a home, I'm a homeowner. I've done everything to atone for the lack of knowledge that I didn't have at that time, and I'm constantly growing and evolving. But the reality is, not a lot of other parents can say that they have thought this through. They continue to keep having kids, continuing to make the same dumb mistake, and they can lie and convince themselves and say it's a blessing, when the reality is they're not thinking of the child at all. They're only thinking about themselves.